Hello, everybody. Welcome to the stream tonight. This is Pat's Path Predictor. I'm your host, Pat, or you can call me Patrick. I don't care which. So, anyway, tonight's main focus will be on Hurricane Larry, which is about to make landfall on Newfoundland as a Category 1 hurricane. We'll discuss all of that. We will also discuss the two new tropical disturbances that are in the Atlantic Basin. We will also be doing that, and we will take any questions from any of our viewers if they have any. But before we begin, I just want to say thank you so much for 25 subscribers. It's honestly a very humbling. I really appreciate it. And so yeah, I won't let you guys down. So anyway, tonight's main feature tonight is Hurricane Larry, which I have been tracking the last 10 days. This is latest advisory was Advisory 41. So just a quick recap. Hurricane Larry emerged as a huge tropical wave off of Africa. It developed into a major hurricane. It then turned towards Bermuda. It hit Bermuda with tropical storm force winds as a Cat 1 hurricane. Then it shifted to the northeast, and now it is moving very, very rapidly towards Newfoundland. St. John is right here. I would expect hurricane force winds to arrive very soon if they haven't already. If you're anywhere past this line in Newfoundland, it is too late to evacuate if you were told to. Shelter in place. It's going to be very powerful, but it's also going to be very fast. So please be careful. This will be over in a few hours, and hopefully there's very minimal damage. So let's go to the 5-day cone real quick. As you can see, maximum sustained winds are 80 miles per hour. Its center location is 44.9 degrees north, 56.5 degrees west, moving north-northeast at 35 miles per hour. This is Advisory 41A. This was issued at 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. So there's that. And then this is the ocean. This is why it's weakening so much. The temperatures are very cold as of right here. It's way past the warm waters that hurricanes are so accustomed for. Bermuda, when Hurricane Larry was approaching Bermuda, it was at 27 degrees Celsius, which translates to about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which is perfect for hurricanes. However, after it left Bermuda, it moved into cooler waters. Now it's in the 18 degrees Celsius range, which is not even enough to form a tropical depression. But here's the thing. These ocean content it's much warmer than it usually is. So I just wanted to point that out. So there's that. This is the key messages for Hurricane Larry. As of 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, this is AST, but this is same time, basically. 1. Larry is forecast to move over portions of southeastern Newfoundland tonight as it undergoes transition to a hurricane-force post-tropical cyclone. We covered this before. At this point, it's only a matter of time before it becomes a post-tropical cyclone. It's really lost a lot of its rotation. It's not really going to do very well. It's over very cold waters. And after it makes landfall, it might even be a post-tropical cyclone right now. We don't know. It's still rotating a little bit. So, yeah, if you're in this part of Newfoundland, you're getting a lot of storms, according to satellite imagery. But the main core is about to move on shore. It's going to give St. John's quite some punch with 80-mile-per-hour winds extending up to 100 miles from the center to the east. Its western side of hurricane force winds are pretty much non-existent. So, at this point, it's basically transitioning into a post-tropical cyclone, an extratropical cyclone, some would call it. It basically means it's no longer tropical. And when that happens, the rotation stops, and it basically is just moves in a straight line. A good example of this is Hurricane Sandy back from 2012, when just before it made landfall in New Jersey, its rotation basically stopped, became a post-tropical cyclone, and then just moved over New Jersey, making a landfall at Atlantic City as a very powerful hurricane. It was a very large hurricane. By that point, that far up north, the tropical characteristics pretty much start deteriorating, and that's what happened with Sandy. This is what's happening with Larry right now. That core is just not looking as impressive as it was a few days ago. A few days ago, we saw that well-defined eye that we see in major hurricanes. It pretty much just collapsed a couple of days ago, and the intensity just went downhill from there after that. So there is that. And basically just, if you're in anywhere in this part of Newfoundland, if you're not in shelter now, it's basically seek shelter. It's gonna be a very powerful punch, but it's gonna be very fast. It'll be over in the span of just a few hours. That's how fast this storm is moving. So, once again, back to this. Hurricane conditions, a dangerous storm surge, and heavy rainfall are expected in portions of southeastern Newfoundland where a hurricane warning is in effect. So the reason we are live tonight is because of this hurricane warning right here. This is a powerful storm. They issued the hurricane warning. This is why we're live tonight. Whenever there's a hurricane warning, I'm going to go live. So 2. Large swells generated by Larry will continue to affect the Bahamas, Bermuda, and the east coast of the United States and Atlantic Canada through Saturday night. I've been talking about this the last few days. This hurricane is such a large storm that is pushing a lot of water hundreds of miles away from even where the storm is. That's what happens when storms that large become what they are. So basically, back to this. These swells will cause life-threatening surf and rip current conditions, and beachgoers and other interests along these coasts are urged to follow the guidance of lifeguards and local officials. So rip currents are no joke. If you're anywhere in New England, I'm not sure, I wouldn't be swimming at this time. If you're anywhere in Atlantic Canada, I wouldn't be swimming at this time. If you're in Newfoundland, I don't know why you're not in shelter right now. This thing is moving very fast. It's about to make landfall. So this is the latest on Larry as it moves ashore. Another thing I want to take a quick look at is these two disturbances at this time. So we're going to go through these very quickly, then we're going to go back to Hurricane Larry. The first disturbance, this is as of 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, September 10th, 2021. The northern part of a tropical wave is interacting with a surface trough over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. The merger of these features are producing a large but disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms over the western Caribbean Sea, Central America, Yucatan Peninsula, and Gulf of Mexico. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for a gradual development over the weekend, and a tropical depression is likely to form on Sunday or Monday before the system moves near or on shore the western Gulf of Mexico. Regardless of development, this disturbance is expected to produce heavy rainfall across portions of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula through Saturday, which may lead to flash flooding and mudslides. By this weekend, heavy rain will likely reach portions of the western Gulf Coast, including coastal Texas and Louisiana, through the middle of the week. Localized significant rainfall amounts will be possible, resulting in limited flash and urban flooding. Formation chance through 48 hours. Medium 60%. A medium chance of development, it's 60%. It's more than a 50-50 chance at this point, so it's likely going to develop. Formation chance through 5 days, high 80%. So this is likely going to develop. We don't have enough information to tell you how strong it is going to get. I don't know. That's the answer. This is the second disturbance that's moving off of Africa. A strong tropical wave located just off the west coast of Africa is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. That's expected. That's what Hurricane Larry did, as it was a tropical wave moving off. Environmental conditions appear generally conducive for additional development, and a tropical depression is likely to form late this weekend or early next week as the system moves west-northwestward over the far east Atlantic near the Cabo Verde Islands. Interest in the Cabo Verde Islands should monitor the progress of this system. Formation chance through the next 48 hours, it's 50-50, a 50-50 shot. It's got a good chance at doing it. And the conditions are just ripe for this thing to develop. How long it takes depends on the system itself. It's a medium chance of development in the next 48 hours. The formation chance for the next 5 days is high. It's at 70%. At this point, it's very likely to develop into something more than just a tropical wave. We'll watch the situation very closely. We're back to the Hurricane Larry. There it goes. And it is fast approaching. The outer band right here is moving on shore. And after that, the core of the storm is about to move on. They're going to get the eye wall. If it has a very organized eye wall left, it doesn't look like it on satellite radar. But I'm sure it has an eye wall left. So yeah, this outer band is moving ashore very, very fast. If you're not, once again, I cannot stress enough, if you were in this part of Newfoundland, seek shelter immediately if you haven't already. I know I've said this like a broken record, but this is a dangerous storm. It's a very large storm. The only piece of good news we're going to have from this is that it is moving very fast. Even though it's going to be very powerful, it's going to be over very soon. So that's the first piece. That's the only piece of good news we have tonight. We have a huge amount of convective thunderstorm activity right here associated with the hurricane in this part of Newfoundland. There's a lot of tropical storm force winds right here, both north right here. This is the tropical storm wind field. This was at 8 p.m. when the force winds first started appearing. When the next advisory comes out in about 45 minutes, we'll know where it'll be. We'll know how large the wind field is, and we'll know how strong it is. And we'll know if it's still a hurricane or not. Honestly, the big question is not if this is going to make landfall or not. It's going to make landfall. The big question is not how strong is it going to be. Well, it kind of is. But the big question I'm wondering is this a post-tropical cyclone? Because the reason I'm asking this is because if Larry makes a landfall in Canada, it'll be the first hurricane since Hurricane Igor in 2010 to make landfall in Canada. Dorian did make landfall in Canada as a Cat 2 equivalent to a hurricane, but it was a post-tropical cyclone by that point. But still, the strongest in 50 years Dorian was. Caused a lot of damage in Nova Scotia, caused a lot of damage in eastern Canada before it dissipated. So, I see we have someone here from St. John's, Newfoundland. If you're not in shelter, seek some shelter immediately. I hope you're in a sturdy building. It's going to be a very wild ride, but it's going to be very quick. It's going to be over in a matter of hours. We're going to know more once the update comes out. So this is where the hurricane force winds out. They extend it's a very large radius, about 90 nautical miles to the southeast, 60 nautical miles to the northeast. If you're in St. John's, you're going to likely get hurricane force winds. That's why the hurricane warning is out. And this is the intensity forecast right here. We're going to pull this up real quickly. This is right now an 80 mile per hour hurricane. Disregard all the models that have this model that has a re-strengthening at this point, this one too. It's not going to happen. It's over too cold of waters for that to happen. It's just probably after it makes landfall, it's just going to maintain its strength because of how fast it's moving, move towards Greenland as a post-tropical cyclone, slowly ground to a tropical storm, and then dissipate in a couple of days. The good news for those in Newfoundland is that, like I said, it's going to be very fast, but bad news is it's going to be very powerful. There's going to be potentially a lot of storm surge, and that's something we do not want to see. So I hope you're hunkered down. I hope you're in your shelter. I hope you're in an interior room for the wind damage and everything. So once this passes, once the hurricane passes, it'll be all over. It's gonna take a few hours, but it's not gonna be like 12 hours like the typical hurricane. I remember Hurricane Dorian. It was just stayed over the Bahamas for days. For days. Like, thankfully this is not happening. This is moving at 35 miles per hour at least, if not faster. The faster it moves, the better the news for those of you in St. John's, because that way you have to deal with the hurricane force winds for less time. So this outer band right here is about to hit St. John's, so you better be in shelter ready for this. So basically, I have everything secured, and I'm in a basement apartment. My question is are you if the ground is high enough in case of storm surge? That's my main question, because if you're because that's a good place to be if the storm surge wasn't a factor. So I know they're calling for life-threatening storm surge right now. It looks like the core of the hurricane starting to move on shore right here in the last frame right here. This thing could probably make landfall in the next hour and a half or so. It's moving that fast. So there's that outer band. It's widening up right now. It's weakening, but it's getting a little larger. So yeah, the main question I have main question I have about this hurricane is this there's still a slight rotation to it, but like, is this a hurricane or a post-tropical cyclone? We won't. That's unfortunately an answer we won't know for another 45 minutes. But this convective thunderstorms right here on the northwestern edge of it, they are getting heavy rain right here. But here comes the core. It's about to make landfall very, very, very soon. I remember Hurricane Igor in 2010. Hopefully this isn't bad. Well, let's hope so too. Yeah, let's just hope this moves out of the way. Comes post-tropical cyclone dissipates after this is over. That's the main goal right now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat. I'm more than happy to answer them for you guys. So I'm gonna, in the meantime, be analyzing all this data and everything. I'm gonna go to the current storm information. Nope, there's no recon on that. So there we go. Yeah, this is where the center of circulation is right here it's basically a closer map. This is where it was about a little over 2 hours ago. Center of circulation is like right here at this point, where my cursor is. You're not close to water, thankfully. All right, that's fine. So, once again, thank you for coming out to the stream. Be sure, please consider subscribing and liking the stream, and I would really appreciate that. So back to what I was saying. Core is moving on shore. If you're in St. John's, you're probably going to get hurricane force winds very, very quickly. This thing is not messing around. So anyway, as of right now, as this is moving ashore, I gave a brief recap of Hurricane Larry and everything. I want to talk about Tropical Storm Mindy at this point, because it just developed out of nowhere. It hit Florida as a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm, just dissipated like 24 hours later. That's what kind of a freak show nature can be at this point. And if you're in Newfoundland, you gotta be careful. You gotta be in shelter. I know I'm saying this like a broken record, but this storm is not joking around. It is literally knocking on your doorstep, if it hasn't been already. The core is moving on shore right now. Hurricane force winds are on shore at this point. Tropical storm force winds have been on shore for the last 2.5 hours. Thankfully, this isn't going to be as bad. thankfully isn't as basically like a lot of other hurricanes. This isn't going to be as bad as Dorian was in Canada when it hit as a post-tropical cyclone. It's not going to be that bad. It's not nearly as large, not nearly as well. It's a pretty large hurricane, but it's not as large, it's not as strong. And this hurricane is moving at least 35 miles per hour. That's about the speed of a severe thunderstorm at this point, just moving off. Hurricanes typically move around like 10 to 15 miles per hour on the open seas. They've in the past in the U.S. tend to slow down before landfall, but this thing is moving at 35 miles per hour. And I can understand why this is doing that, because this isn't. It's just basically the reason it turned was because there was a high pressure ridge just driving it up towards Bermuda and Canada. Yeah, Bermuda got tropical storm force winds and everything. There wasn't too much damage there, but this is another story here in Newfoundland, near in St. John's. Hope I'm saying that right. But yeah, all of Newfoundland is basically just in some part of this hurricane. Hopefully it shouldn't be, hopefully it's not going to be as bad as Dorian was, but it's not going to be that good either. The only slice of good news I got is that it's, just going to be a fast hurricane. So yeah, it's basically we're just watching this move ashore right now. We're gonna just leave this open for now. So yeah, forgot to mention the central pressure, which is 958 millibars. The pressure seems to have dropped quite a bit. It was 959 before. It's now 958. It's moving at 35 miles per hour. Its location is 44.9 degrees north. 56.5 degrees west. Still an 80 mile per hour hurricane. We're waiting on that advisory to come in. Once again, if you have any questions, please type in the chat. I'm happy to answer for you. So the minimum central pressure has dropped about a millibar. At 5 Eastern Daylight Time, it was at 9:59, I think. Now it's at 9:58, which I don't know really how to make out of it. It's not strengthening at all, because a drop we'll have to wait and see for that. But yeah, that core is just moving on shore right now. If you're in this part of Newfoundland, you better be in shelter, because this core is going to move ashore. There's going to be very strong winds. There's going to be a lot of storm surge. So please be careful at this point. If you're anywhere in the southern part of this part of Newfoundland, if you're part of this part of Newfoundland, don't go outside. Don't go outside. Don't go outside till the storm's passed. In fact, if you're anywhere in Newfoundland, and even if you're not in the strongest part of this hurricane, don't go outside. Just don't. So anyway, that outer band is still moving at this point. Hold on, I'm gonna do something real quick. All right. Okay, there it goes. That outer band is pretty much at St. John's. It's right there. But right now, what I want to do is move this back 120 frames to show you this what happened. Basically, we had this big core right here, and then this part of it splits off right here, and it starts to rotate less, and there it is now. So there's the core. The western part of it just splits off, does its own thing, and it's basically becoming less and less tropical as we speak at this point. At this point, this morning, when I looked at it on satellite radar, I could already tell it was starting to develop into a post-tropical cyclone. It was turning extratropical, and this is how it's doing that. So there you have it. That core is moving ashore. That's where the hurricane force winds are. It's going to be a wild ride for the next couple of hours. Once this thing makes landfall, once this thing moves ashore, the storm's passed, everything's going to be fine. It's good. Once again, it's a very fast storm. It's not going to just linger around. It's just going to just charge, move right through, continue going, albeit slightly weakened. The main question that I have is this even a hurricane? I know that shouldn't be my main question, but really be my main question, but this is an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. Storm surge is potentially life-threatening. So if you're anywhere on lower ground and this hurricane is coming, get to higher ground like now. You should have just if you were under an evacuation order, which I'm not sure. If you were under an evacuation order, you should have gotten out of there. If you're in a shelter-in-place order, you should have sheltered in place. If you're in one of the lower areas of Newfoundland and the water hasn't risen yet, well, I wouldn't say get out. I would say just ride out the storm. It's not not the worst hurricane in the world. It's only 80 miles per hour, but it's still too much for a place like Canada. So anyway, it's just yeah. Anyway. All right. So yeah, let's take a look at this real quickly. National Hurricane Center analysis and forecasts. Let's see. I want to pull up the archive for Hurricane Larry, like all the archives and everything, because there's like 41 updates, like 41. This is advisory 41A. This has been going on for like over 10 days. I've been tracking this. The moment it came off of Africa, and the moment it started developing, that's when I started uploading those videos, letting people know about it. Pretty soon, it rapidly intensified to a Cat 1 hurricane, then became steadily intensified after that to become a major hurricane. And it stayed at 125 miles per hour. A lot of models had it going up to Cat 4, which at the time it could have. I'm not but it wasn't really in the best environment to do that, and it was just consolidating its strength. Then it showed its massive eye, and then it started fluctuating in intensity from 120 to 125, 120 to 125. Then the eye just basically collapsed, and it just started weakening from there, from 125, 120, 115, 110, 100 to 90, and now 80. If you're in Newfoundland, I am glad you're not getting hit by a major hurricane. I'm glad you're not getting hit by a high-end Cat 2 like they were saying you would be getting like 5 days ago. I'm glad this hurricane weakened as it was just passing east of Bermuda, because those impacts would have been probably quite a bit more if it were a major hurricane, Cat 4, just moving just east to it. There were some models that just had it coming pretty close to Bermuda, so thankfully that didn't happen. Still not tropical force winds, but that's better. I would take that over hurricane force winds any day of the week. So all we're waiting for is just this advisory at this point. That is all we are waiting for, because I want to know how strong this hurricane is. I want to know if it's even a hurricane at all. It doesn't really matter if it's a hurricane or not. It's still going to be bad. St. John is basically the southern part of St. John is basically in that outer band. You should be in shelter right now if you're tuning in from St. John's, Canada. That core is moving more and more ashore. So, yeah. There we go. Yeah, the rest of that band is just moving across the shore right here. There it is in northern Newfoundland. At this point, that's all those thunderstorms are just like the clouds are warming up. They're at the minus 50s, minus 40s at this point. They were at the minus 60s earlier as it was moving ashore. So that's a pretty interesting development. That also I'm noticing that receding quite a bit. So it does appear to be weakening. Like it's been appearing to weaken the last several days, but this hurricane hasn't really had a visible eye on satellite since like 2 days ago. That's how wild this is. Like 3 or 4 days ago, it had this massive eye in the middle of it. It looked nearly circular. It looked more elliptical and circular, but it still looked amazing on radar. But at this point, at this point, it's not a major hurricane. It does not have that giant eye. The center of circulation is like right here. And it's about to make landfall. Probably in the next hour 15, hour 30. So, yeah. So, let's go back to the National Hurricane Center. They haven't updated anything yet. As soon as the update comes out, I will be the first one to do that. If you have any questions regarding Hurricane Larry, be sure to put that in the chat. Also, please like the stream, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. It really helps me get the updates like these out to you, and I really appreciate you for tuning in at this time of the day to listen to and watch Hurricane Larry look like it's going to make landfall. So, yep. So yeah, this is that wind. This once again, for those of you who are just tuning in, this is that wind. This is the wind field at this point. This is basically engulfing the majority of Newfoundland at this point. It's coming ashore. This is from 2.5 hours ago, but at the same time, it's still a very large radius. Earlier today, Nova Scotia got some outer bands of Hurricane Larry as it was moving towards Newfoundland. Nova Scotia is right here for non-Canadian viewers or for those who are in the U.S. Nova Scotia is right here. This is Newfoundland. This is Greenland right here. This is Quebec. But anyway, yeah, Nova Scotia got some outer bands of the hurricane as it was moving very quickly, and now it's about to come on shore to Newfoundland. If it holds its tropical characteristics, it'll be the first hurricane since Igor to make landfall in 2010. So keep that in mind, everybody. So, anyway, this is back to the satellite. I'm gonna refresh the page real quick, just to make sure. Nope, they haven't updated the satellite yet. So basically, this is the forecast models. This was as of this was at 5 p.m. about 5.5 hours ago. They have it. All the models had it moving over Newfoundland, over near St. John's, just going towards Greenland as a post-tropical cyclone, potentially dissipating. NHC has it dissipating by Sunday. So that's good news. This thing is going to move very quickly. It's going to move very fast. That's very good news. I'm really happy about it. This is the one good thing that's happening. So yeah. We're just waiting on the advisory, and as soon as it comes out, I will update you. But if you have, in the meantime, if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to type them. I'm happy to answer them. I know I've said that, but but feel free. So, analyzing the NHC map, it appears that as it's crossing Newfoundland, it becomes a post-tropical cyclone. According to this latest cone that was issued 5.5 hours ago. I know the intermediate advisories do not have updated cones for those of you who do not know. And by Sunday it's going to dissipate. So, yeah, it's been a pretty active season this year. 2020 season was just absolutely nuts. So we had Laura, we had Delta, we had Zeta, we had Iota, and a bunch of other bad hurricanes that hit North America at some point. And this isn't a disappointing season. I mean, it's not good for the people getting hit by these things, but it's not the least active. Wasn't like in 2015 where there was only like 11 named systems, and the strongest of those was Joaquin, and it was retired. But yeah, right before Larry formed, Ida made landfall in Florida. I saw a comment mentioning that. Let me pull it up. My town was completely underwater from Ida. I'd never seen anything like it. I am terribly sorry about that. Holy crap. That must feel really bad. I know Port Fourchon, they got annihilated. I know Grand Isle was underwater. I know New Orleans it wasn't nearly as bad. It wasn't a Katrina-like disaster like some of the people I know were saying. But it was still a pretty bad hurricane. The strongest hurricane to make landfall in terms of pressure in Louisiana history. It ties for Laura and the 1856 hurricane that hit Louisiana for wind speed strongest hurricanes. But Ida is the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in Louisiana in terms of pressure. So there was that. In the meantime, we have Larry, who is basically just all of. If you're in St. John's, you're in that outer band. It's only a matter of time before that core hits. A matter of time before you probably are getting at least hurricane force gusts, if not hurricane force winds. So it's not gonna. So just if you are listening from Newfoundland, St. John's, Canada, hunker down. Just find an interior room and ride this thing out. It's going to be a pretty strong hurricane, but the good news is it is moving very, very fast. And the faster the hurricane, the better it is in terms of rainfall, in terms of damage. For example, one of the storms that hit Canada, Hurricane Maria in 2011. Hurricane Maria in 2017 was the one that hit Puerto Rico, but this was in 2011. It made landfall as a tropical storm or a post-tropical cyclone, I'm not entirely sure. And it moved so fast, the damage was so minimal. It was moving at like 50 miles per hour. That's as fast as some of the fastest severe thunderstorms that I've seen in the U.S. So, yeah, if northern Newfoundland is getting swamped with rain right at this point. The core of the hurricane is moving ashore. It's more of it is moving ashore. It's going to make landfall very shortly, probably in the next hour or so. But if you're in St. John's, you better be in shelter right now, or else it's not going to be a very pleasant ride for you. It's not very pleasant being out in 80 mile per hour winds. It's not. I've seen those viral videos of Jim Cantore from the Weather Channel just struggling in those. It's really difficult. I've also seen the viral videos from the folks in Mount Washington. The winds up there get up to 100 miles per hour, but I'm getting off track. So, at this point, well, hold on, let me check NHC at this point. No update yet. We should expect it in the next 20 minutes. So there we go. Hurricane Larry breaking news for those who are just tuning in. Hurricane Larry about to make landfall in southeastern Newfoundland. If it holds its tropical characteristics, it'll be the first hurricane to make landfall since 2010 with Hurricane Igor. So if that's the case, it's not looking its best, to say at the very least. one of my questions all night is this: if this is this thing even a hurricane, or is this just a post-tropical cyclone?
What do you think I'm doing?
At this point, it's an unknown. We're just gonna have to wait for the National Hurricane Center to release that advisory, and we'll judge it from there. So, so the core is once again on shore. It is moving on shore. Landfall is expected very shortly. If you're in this part of Newfoundland, you're probably you're in the strongest part of the hurricane for sure. If you're in this part of Newfoundland, the part where I'm in the cursor right here, you are about to get the strongest part of the hurricane. St. John's probably is getting at this point getting hurricane force winds as the core is moving on shore. It's about to make landfall in the next hour. For those of you who are tuning in, and once again, I'll say this again for those of you who are tuning in, we will. I'm going to give you a quick, brief backstory to how Hurricane Larry got to this point. So, 10 days ago, is developed as it came off Africa as a tropical wave, very strong tropical wave, and it started rapidly intensifying into a Cat 1 hurricane. Then it intensified further into a major hurricane at Cat 3 with winds of 125 miles per hour. Every model, including the National Hurricane Center, had it going up to 140 miles per hour, which is Cat 4. Didn't happen. It stayed at 125, which thank goodness it did, because Canada would have gotten a much stronger hurricane at that point. So anyway, it stayed at 125. It's developed this massive elliptical, almost circular-like eye. It was it was a really strong, good structure. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the perfect, but it could hold its own. But then it just started fluctuating in intensity, 120, 125, 120, 125. Then a couple of days ago, the eye just collapsed on itself. Like the satellite imagery just showed the eye just collapsed and everything. The core of it just collapsed. And it really tanked its intensity. It went from 120 to 115, down to Cat 2 strength at 110, then 100, then 90 miles per hour, which is Cat 1, and then now 80 miles per hour as it's coming ashore. So that's the quick backstory on this. Still haven't updated it yet. Huh. So, repeating the 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time advisory, 41A. Central location is 44.9 degrees north, 56.5 degrees west. Maximum sustained winds 80 miles per hour. Moving north-northeast at 35 miles per hour. Once again, it's a fast-moving hurricane. Good news for those of you in Newfoundland, it's gonna be over shortly. It's gonna be over shortly. I'm glad you're. Yeah, I'm happy. It's a fast-moving hurricane. It's gonna be over over very soon. We're just waiting on the next advisory at this point. This the ocean temperatures. Once again, we're just gonna close these out. Yeah, we'll keep these. Yeah, we'll keep those. Yeah, we'll close all those out. So once again, if you guys haven't already, be sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It is much appreciated and it helps me make videos like this. And once again, if you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat. I am more than happy to answer your questions. Still no update. We're gonna check in about 5 more minutes because I want to know if this is a hurricane or a post-tropical cyclone. It doesn't make any difference because it's still going to impact with 80 miles per hour. It's still going to have hurricane force winds. That's why this hurricane warning is in effect, because of hurricane force conditions expected with this thing. St. John's is already pretty much in the hurricane force winds at this point. The core is moving on shore at a very fast pace. It has basically engulfed this part of Newfoundland. It's taken over this part of Newfoundland. It's gonna move ashore in the next probably hour. That's how fast this thing is moving. So once again, the model forecast. So this is outdated, so we're not going to look at that really. But I'm starting to notice that some. Hold on, I'm going to slow this. I'm going to try to slow this down as much as I can. Yeah, in the last few frames, some cloud tops right here are really starting to develop and pop up right here. Those indicate they're in the range of the mid-minus 60s degrees Celsius at this point. This thing isn't really strengthening or anything, but I just figured it was something to keep a note of, because that could mean some heavier rainfall, a little bit stronger gusts, not sustained winds, but gusts. I don't know. So yeah, the center circulation, because NHC, the map is like this. This center circulation, this was from 3 hours ago. Center circulation is like right here at this point. There is no doubt that this is going to make landfall in the next, say, a little under an hour or so. But once it does, and it still holds its hurricane characteristics, it's going to be a rather somewhat historic landfall, because this will be the first hurricane since 2010 to make landfall, that being Igor. Still have not updated it yet. So there we go. Once again, if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to type it in the chat, and as well as hit the like button. Consider subscribing. Really, it is much appreciated.
How would you get two things, Eggman and Bluetooth shrimp? Why are these just recurring characters? What the heck? Oh, wow.
Alright.
Oh, God.
It is currently 10:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 9:48 p.m. Central Daylight Time. We are looking at Hurricane Larry at this point. It is coming on shore, moving very fast, making landfall in the next hour or so. Its center circulation is like right here. It's very close to shore. Thank goodness it's moving so fast, because it's going to be over soon. Once this makes landfall and weakens a little bit, turns into a post-tropical cyclone, then it's basically after that it's going to go over to Greenland, dissipate by the end of the weekend. But but for those of you just tuning in, I am tracking two other disturbances right here very quickly before the advisory comes in. This is the first one, and this is from 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The northern part of a tropical wave is interacting with a surface trough over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. The merger of these features is producing a large but disorganized area of showers and thunderstorms over the western Caribbean Sea, Central America, and Yucatan Peninsula, as well as the Gulf of Mexico. Environmental conditions are expected to be conducive for gradual development over the weekend, and a tropical depression is likely to form on Sunday or Monday. before the system moves near or onshore the western Gulf of Mexico coast. Regardless of development, this disturbance is expected to produce heavy rainfall across portions of Central America and the Yucatan Peninsula through Saturday, which may lead to flash flooding and mudslides. That part of Central America is very mountainous. I remember Hurricane Mitch made landfall there, caused a lot of rain, dumped a lot of rain, killed thousands in the landslides. So they are no joke, especially if they're with the tropical system. By late this weekend, heavy rain will likely reach portions of the western Gulf Coast, including coastal Texas and Louisiana, through the middle of next week. Localized significant rainfall amounts will be possible, resulting in limited flash and urban flooding. Chances of formation in the next 2 days are 60%. That's more than a 50-50 shot. Chances for the next 5 days are 80%, so it's very, very likely going to happen no matter what, if conditions are very favorable for it to develop. This disturbance too, same time, 8 p.m. A strong tropical wave located just off the west coast of Africa is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear generally conducive for additional development, and a tropical depression is likely to form late this week or early next week as the system moves west-northwestward over the far eastern Atlantic near the Cabo Verde Islands. Interests in the Cabo Verde Islands should monitor the progress of this system. Chance formation in the next 2 days, medium 50%, 50-50 shot. It's got a good chance of developing in the next couple of days. Formation chance through 5 days, high 70%, so it's very likely going to be a tropical system. It's too early to know where exactly it's going to go after 5 days, but I'll be watching both these very carefully. I'm going to pull up, this could be the next N and O named systems right here. It's very likely for that to happen. Very likely for that to happen, so there's that. The imagery on Larry, it's continuing to move ashore. I want to take a quick look at these storms right here, which appear to be just weakening by the second right here. This conductive area thunderstorms, I'm going to pull this back about even like 60 frames at this point. As part of this, and I just detached, hold on, it's going to replay. As part of this, and it was just detached, and now it's just dying off at this point. Doesn't mean the storm's over, but it's a good indicator that that part of the storm's weakening. But if you're anywhere in Newfoundland, don't go outside. Do not. It's not a good idea. So, also, Nova Scotia got the outer bands of that huge area right there. You'll see it one more time. There it is. It moved up over. Now it's approaching Newfoundland. It's very close to shore. It's about to make landfall. The latest advisory just came out. The latest advisory just came out. We're gonna take a quick look at this. We're gonna take a quick peek at this. National Hurricane Center. That's the key messages from earlier. We're gonna analyze this. It is still a hurricane. It's still a hurricane. It's moving on shore. Its center location is now. Its maximum sustained winds are now still 80 miles per hour. But look at this. It is moving north-northeast at 47 miles per hour. That is a huge jump from just 3 hours ago. That really shows you that this storm is really cranking up in speed. This thing's going to probably make landfall like within the next 30 minutes at this point. The center location is 46.8 degrees north, 54.5 degrees west. Bit of a surprise considering that this hurricane is just, this far north because, and I get it's been like that for several days. Which is understandable. So there it is, advisory 42. Pressure still at 958 millibars. Huh. let's see. All right, so let's take a quick look. I'm taking a quick look at this. Warnings. So yeah, hurricane warning still in effect. No change in that at all. So yeah, that's the latest on Hurricane Larry. That's its 40-second advisory. It's still a hurricane, but moving much faster than anticipated, at least for me. So holy crap. So if you're just tuning in, the latest advisory just came in. It is still a hurricane with 80-mile-per-hour winds, moving north-northeast at 47 miles per hour. A fast-moving hurricane. That is honestly the best news that Newfoundland can get at this point, because the faster the hurricane is moving, the sooner this is over. If you're just tuning in, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It is much appreciated. It helps me get do streams like this and get updates out. Get updates like this out as well. It's much appreciated. So anyway, back to Hurricane Larry. Yeah, it's probably gonna make landfall in the next 30 minutes. Pretty. Yeah, it's moving. That's honestly a good thing. It's making landfall at a much faster pace, because generally generally hurricanes move at like 10 to 15 miles per hour, and the ordeal will last like 12 hours at this point. But 47 miles per hour. That, like, I understand. Like, I remember Hurricane Maria back in 2017, after it hit Puerto Rico, just moved off the shore. It just, like, I don't, like, it just was moving at like 60 miles per hour as it was just moving on shore. Just, like, not moving on shore, it was moving, like it was just moving to the east, like, just cruising at the speed you would go on an interstate. Which, this far up north, that's understandable. But if you're in Newfoundland, this is a good thing that this thing's moving faster than it is. It really is. So once again, if you're just tuning in, be sure to like the stream, subscribe to the channel. It's much appreciated. It helps me get coverage out like this. So I'm actually going to move this back 75 frames. So yeah, parts of it hits Nova Scotia, then it goes to Newfoundland and St. John's, which I'm gonna peer up. It's St. John's right here. I'm gonna pause at the last frame. So yeah, I noticed in the last few minutes that some more clouds, cooler clouds, below minus 60, even below minus 65 degrees Celsius is forming right here. It doesn't mean it's getting stronger. It probably means some higher gusts and some heavier rainfall. That's about it. So yeah, it's pretty impressive at this point. Alright, let's continue that real quickly. Actually, we're going to go back to 30 frames, 30 images. Here you go. So there's that. Current storm information. Let's see if they updated this. Nope, they have not updated it on here yet. So yeah, they're not updating these for another few hours, so there's nothing new to update it on here. Hurricane Larry's about to make landfall. As soon as it's very close. If it's about to make landfall, probably in the next 30 minutes. So So yeah, this is the latest cone the NHC came out with. Now has it dissipating after 8 p.m. on Saturday, which is another piece of good news, considering the fact that just considering the fact that it had it at dissipating it on Sunday, so that's more good news. So there we have it so far. Okay. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. The stream's going to still be playing. I'm just turning my mic off. Just to yeah, just turning my mic off. I'm gonna take a quick break for 5 minutes. I'm gonna play the imagery right here, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. And we are back. Thank you guys for being patient. I had to take a few minutes for a quick break, get some water, rest my voice and everything, to continue another hour of coverage. So, this is, for those of you who are tuning in, thank you for coming. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more updates and streams like this. As well as hit that like button on the stream. It is much appreciated. Helps me get make more update videos. Helps me get out more streams like this. So anyway, enough of that. Let's cut to the chase. So this is the another hour of coverage that we're going to be doing. We're going until 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time, or when this hurricane makes landfall, whichever comes first. Actually, no, we're still going till 12, no matter 12 of 11 Central, no matter what. But for those of you who are just tuning in, I'm going to give you a quick brief update. 11 p.m. advisory. But before I do that, let's give a brief backstory for our main show of the night, Hurricane Larry. What also I'm going to do again is, just for those of you who are just tuning in, a couple of disturbances have formed, areas of interest. I will be reading out those advisories as well. And then there will be plenty of time for questions, and I'm happy to answer them. So if you have any questions in the chat now, feel free to answer them. I'm more than happy to. So anyway, back to the backstory of Larry. It formed off as a tropical wave in off of Africa, and it started intensifying very quickly, organizing very rapidly intensified to a Category 1 hurricane at a very quick speed, and then after that, it intensified to a Cat 3 with winds of 125 miles per hour. It had a very nice, very decent structure. Its eye looked very elliptical and somewhat circular, but wasn't quite there. However, since then, it started fluctuating. A lot of models had it going up to a Cat 4 with 140 miles per hour.
Ouch.
Please excuse. I'm sorry about that if you heard that. But anyway, so yeah. Larry started fluctuating in intensity to 120, 125, 120, 125. Yeah, and then just its entire core just basically started to collapse at that point about 2 or 3 days ago, and then just started weakening, dropping to 120, then 115 miles per hour, then 100, then losing its major hurricane status to 110, then 100, then 90, and now an 80 mile per hour hurricane. So that's where we are now. It is currently about to make landfall in Newfoundland. So, yeah, currently about to make landfall in Newfoundland. It's still a hurricane. This is the latest advisory that came out just recently, just now. Advisory 42. So that's how long this hurricane's been lasting. So, it is about to make landfall in Newfoundland. Hurricane warnings are in effect for the southeastern portion of it. Tropical storm force warnings are in effect for just further west of it. And then, it's has 80 mile per hour winds. It is moving north-northeast at 47 miles per hour. 47 miles per hour. The last advisory was 35. I'll get to that in a little bit, but the center location is 46.8 degrees north, 54.9 degrees west, and that's basically it. So it's moving so fast, and that is the one piece of good news we have for the people of Newfoundland who are tuning into this, because the faster this thing is going, the faster this is going, the quicker you're going to get out of this. It's going to be a very hard punch, but it's going to be quick and painless, hopefully. Yeah, and hopefully it won't cause a lot of damage. I hope to God nobody gets killed from this. I hope to God that everyone is in a sturdy shelter at this time, because this thing's about to make landfall. Here in St. John's, you're probably getting hurricane force winds at this point. Hold on, let me check the hurricane wind field. hold on, I'm checking the wrong stuff. You're not quite in hurricane force winds yet, but you're about to be at this. About to be. Once this thing makes landfall, that's when you'll probably be in the hurricane force winds. But yeah, the entire western part of the storm, western part of the hurricane force winds just collapsed. They're not there. So at this point, it's moving at 47 miles per hour. That's about as fast as that's actually really fast for a hurricane, because typically hurricanes tend to move at 10, 15, maybe even 20 miles per hour when they're out in the sea and everything, but as they approach the land in the US, they generally tend to slow down a little bit and strengthen. This has been a new trend recently. So anyway, if this thing's moving at 47, which I understand at this point because it's so far away from the equator at this point. Like the temperature, the ocean temperatures at this point are below like 60 degrees Fahrenheit. There is there's basically no fuel off this thing. This is basically running on fumes. I'm surprised it's holding up the way it is now. I'm surprised it's still a hurricane. I'll explain in just a moment, but first of all, still a hurricane, still a powerful storm. When this makes landfall, it's going to be the first hurricane since Hurricane Igor to make landfall in Canada since 2010. Dorian did make landfall in 2019, but it was a post-tropical cyclone at that point. But still, the strongest system to make tropical, post-tropical, whatever system to make landfall in 50 years. So that's a bit of an achievement. This will be the first hurricane to make landfall in Canada since 2010. So that's a little bit of history right there. So yeah, that's basically it right there. Just a quick spiel on that. So anyway, yeah, I want to go to the. Well, I wanted to know if they haven't updated this yet. Well, I want to check real quick. Yeah, they're not updating this. It takes a little while for them to update all of this, so yeah, there you go. All right, so anyway, I was saying that Hurricane Larry was still a hurricane. The reason I said that was because at that point, like these hurricanes this far north tend to lose tropical characteristics, become post-tropical cyclones, and Hurricane Larry still has a little bit of rotation left for the NHC to classify this as such. So, for a good example of a post-tropical cyclone, like just becoming just what happens after a storm like this loses its rotation, it loses tropical characteristics. It's post-tropical. It doesn't really rotate anymore. It just goes really straight, and it just moves really fast. Prime example of this was Hurricane Sandy in 2012, where as it approached the shores of New Jersey, its center of circulation just stopped rotating, and all of it just pushed on shore, made landfall as a post-tropical cyclone. It was dubbed Superstorm Sandy because post-tropical cyclone did not sound it didn't sound bad enough. Like, it didn't sound like dangerous enough, for example, because post-tropical cyclone, superstorm, that sounds, that's two different. That sounds like it's two different things, which kind of it is, but superstorm sounds a lot more dangerous. But I am getting way ahead of myself. That is besides the point. So anyway, I'm surprised at this latitude. It's still a hurricane, honestly. Its core is moving on shore. It's about to make landfall. If it hasn't already, it's about to, and probably in the next 15 or so minutes. So yeah, it's just moving a very fast hurricane, very fast, 47 miles per hour, which for the people in Newfoundland, you should be hunkered down at this point. You should not be outside doing anything. You should be hunkered down. You should be in an interior room just to ride out the storm. Good news is it's going to be fast, and once that core is passed, it's over because there's pretty much nothing to the south of this. It's lost a lot of its circular at this point. I mean, there still is tropical storm force winds, but there's no precipitation at that point. So I would wait a little bit. It's going to be over very soon. Everything's going to be okay. It's not like it's going to be it's a major hurricane making landfall. It's not just a Cat 1. It's still a Cat 1, which is really strong for Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, but everything's going to be okay. Trust me when I say that. Everything's going to be okay. Everything will be just fine. So anyway, if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. I am happy to answer them. So anyway, this is. I hope did they update this yet? I don't think they're going to update this in a while, but yeah, this is the latest cone. The hurricane force winds still expand out about 90 nautical miles to the southeast, 60 to the northeast. So St. John's is probably getting hurricane force winds at this point. So after it makes landfall and after it leaves Newfoundland, it's expected to become a post-tropical cyclone and then dissipate by either late Saturday or early Sunday, according to the NHC. So looks like this part of Newfoundland is in the south side of the storm. You're not out of the woods yet. There's still a lot of winds and everything. You're not out of the woods. So anyway, the core is pretty much over this part of Newfoundland. That's why the hurricane warning was issued. For that core, it's pretty much encompassing the vast majority of it at this point. It is about to make landfall if it hasn't already. If it hasn't made landfall, it's about to. So anyway, please excuse me. That was my bad. So anyway, up to the north, these storms right here are just fading at this point. They're exiting northern Newfoundland, and as well as just dying off at this point. And I think I can explain why. I'm moving this back probably 125 right here. So yeah, just give it a second. Yeah, just give it a second as soon as it's alright. Okay, so let's pause it right here. This part of the storm right here is still somewhat attached to it, to the hurricane at this point, still in the circulation. Still kind of is, but yeah, and then this part of it just disconnects from it, and this part of it's just fading out. So let's do it in fast motion real quickly. It hits Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. So there you go. Those cloud tops are approaching the -40s into the -30s. A few in the -50s, but it's becoming fewer and fewer as the minutes pass by. So we're gonna go back to 30. There you go. All right, if you're in Newfoundland, the core of the hurricane is pretty much ashore. If you're if you're not hunkered down at this point, hunker down right now. Expect power outages at this point. We're gonna see some of those at this point. So please, if you're not in shelter, seek shelter immediately. If you're in St. John's, you're about to get that core. Everything's gonna be all right. Just seek shelter, hunker down, prepare for power outages. As the core is moving on shore, it is about to make landfall. This is the strongest part of the storm, folks. It's moving on shore. Thank goodness it's moving so. The storm itself is moving so fast because it's gonna be over soon. Everything. Don't worry. Everything will be okay. Everything will be okay. Just hunker down. Get into an interior room to prevent you getting hurt from any flying debris this wind may bring. Power outages are likely at this point, especially with a hurricane this strong. Just at this point, it's hunker down. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. If this hurricane hasn't made landfall yet, it's about to.
No, it's because Celeste volume is very high. Because I'm fevering. Because I came into this to see what the rest of the hooligans were doing. Yeah, because people like watching, and I don't feel like doing a stream on Twitch. Because I feel crap.
For those of you who are just tuning in, we are looking at what the core of Hurricane Larry moving ashore, southeastern Newfoundland. Sorry, yeah. So yeah, moving on land. If you're in St. John's and anywhere in this area, that my mouse is pointing at right here, that's just circling at this point. If you're not in an adequate shelter, if you're not in a secure shelter, get in one immediately. You need to hunker down. This is your time to do it. This is the strongest part of the storm. Power outages are likely, so your power, if it hasn't gone out already, it's about to at this point. It's very likely about to come. It's very likely about to knock your power out. It's very likely gonna be out for a few days at least. Just keep yourself and your family protected if you are tuning in from St. John or anywhere in southeastern Newfoundland. It's going to be okay. The storm is moving at a very fast rate, 47 miles per hour. That is a very fast storm. That's good news. That's the only good news out at this point, mostly because, the faster the storm is moving, the quicker it'll be all over. In a few hours, everything will be okay. If you're anywhere near water, dangerous storm surge is expected at this point. Get to higher ground if you can. If you're in St. John, is shelter in place at this point. If you're in St. John's, shelter in place. Like ISCOR is about to hit you at this point right now. So let's see. Let's update this. So yeah, there it is right here. Actually, I'm gonna pause this roll. I'm gonna pause the animation. So yeah, the core of the storm is moving on shore. This thing is about to make landfall. If it hasn't already, once it makes landfall, it's going to hopefully weaken some before it passes over past St. After into the further north in the Atlantic Ocean towards Greenland. After it's done here in Newfoundland, It's going to become a post-tropical cyclone, dissipate by tomorrow or early Sunday. So that's some good news. Also, if you're in the northern part of the island, you're still getting thunderstorms, still getting rain right here, still getting some wind, but these storms are just losing convection at this point. So you're not. No one on this island is off the woods. No one on this island is anywhere. They're not necessarily anywhere close, but they're on the way. At this point, once again, I cannot stress this enough. Hunker down. Find an interior room Find a sturdy interior room. Prepare for power outages. Prepare for potentially internet outages. And prepare for that to last for at least a few days. Once again, we will be covering this until 12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 11 p.m. Central Daylight Time. But if you're anywhere in the southeastern part of the island, hunker down. The core of the storm is right there. If it's not over you, it is knocking on your doorstep. This is the strongest part of the hurricane at this point. Once that passes over you, it's not over. It's not over yet, but the worst of it is over. I'm not 100% sure if this has made landfall or not. It's really, really difficult to tell. But here's what we know. This thing is moving at 47 miles per hour. That's basically a fast-moving hurricane. So, thank goodness it's moving this fast. It's moving nearly 50 miles per hour. It'll be all over soon. By the time you get up tomorrow morning, it'll be all over. Thank goodness. So anyway, if you have any questions in the chat, feel free to answer. Also, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It is much appreciated. And thank you all for tuning in and staying so far. It's much appreciated.
Busy man. You didn't, clearly.
For those of you who are just tuning into the live stream, we are currently tracking Hurricane Larry as it is moving on Newfoundland. So at this point, if you're in the southeastern part of Newfoundland, you should be in shelter right now. You're in the worst part of this hurricane. You should not be outside. You should not be anywhere near the beaches, anywhere near water. Storm surge is life-threatening. I pray to God that no one gets killed. But I've been praying ever since NHC had this making landfall. I hope you guys prepared everything adequately, because this is the strongest part. Once this passes over you, you're not in the woods, but it only gets better from here. Hold on, let me pause. I'm gonna go back to right here. Literally the entire core, pretty much the whole core of this system is on the area where the hurricane warning was issued. That's why the NHC issued it for right here. That's why it went up for right here. This area of 80 plus mile per hour gusts right here, that's why the warning was issued. There's hurricane force winds in this whole core right here. Just don't worry, it's only going to last a little longer. Everything will be okay once this is passed. All right. While Hurricane Larry is about to move on shore, we're gonna take a brief minute to follow you guys up on a couple of disturbances that are in the area as of right now. So this is the first one right here. At this point, it has a 60% chance of development in 48 hours. It is moving through the southwestern, about to move through the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. Its center of location is currently in in Guatemala. It is about to move over the Gulf of Mexico. Is causing a lot of heavy rain in Central America, Western Caribbean Sea, and once again the Gulf of Mexico. This has a 60% chance of developing in 2 days, which is more than a 50-50 shot. It's got a good chance of it developing. Through the next 5 days, has an 80% chance of development, so I will be watching the situation very closely. It is now a 50% chance of development for Disturbance 2, which is a tropical wave that has developed just and is coming offshore of Africa. Got a 50-50 shot of developing in 48 hours. 70% shot of developing in 5 days. So I'll be watching both these very carefully. So, thank you all for tuning into the stream so far. Please consider liking the stream and subscribing. It helps out. It helps me create more update videos. Helps me get more streams out like this to inform viewers about what's going on. So, if this part of the back end of the core, right here, back end of the core. You're in this tiny part of Newfoundland right here. It's like you're on the back end of it. You're almost out of it. It's almost there. For those of you on the rest of the hurricane warned area, still hunker down. It's gonna move really fast. It's gonna be very powerful. Just hold out for a little longer. For those of you on the northern part of the island right here, while those storms on satellite appear to be fading, stay indoors. Do not go outside. In fact, anyone on Newfoundland should not go out at this current time. If this hurricane hasn't made landfall yet, it's going to very, very soon. Your southern part, if you're in St. John's, you're just getting into the core of the hurricane right now, and it's been real. And I'm actually going to drop the frames down to the last 10. Slow this down. All right. So basically, this is the last 10 frames. Its core just. Actually, no, this isn't going to work. I'm going to do it the last 20 frames. Actually, I'm going to try 15 first. Alright. So yeah, this core just essentially started expanding, bubbling up at this point. And you saw those cloud tops getting heavier and heavier. And now, see how that core just expanded like that a little bit. It now encompasses the whole, pretty much almost the whole part of this area right here near St. John's. If you're in St. John's, you're in the core of the hurricane. If you're not in shelter, this is your time. This is your time. It's life or it's essentially life or death at this point. We're just waiting on confirmation from the NHC that Hurricane Larry has made landfall. We are waiting very patiently at this point, but even if it makes landfall, the storm is not over. Nowhere close to being over at this, essentially. Just hunker down. It's going to be okay. Power outages are likely at this point. Your internet may go out. It'll probably last a few days. So expect that, especially with 80-mile-per-hour winds. So just once again, if you're in St. John's, just hunker down. It's gonna be a little while. Back end of the core is moving through. If you're in the southern tip right here, you're almost out of it. Just hold out a little bit longer. You're gonna be okay. This tip right here, the same thing. You're in the back end of it. Hold out a little longer. If you're in St. John's, you're in the core. You're in the hurricane force winds. There's no question about it. Pretty sure this hurricane's already made landfall, but we're waiting for the NHC to confirm that it did. I'm pretty certain that if it hasn't already, it's going to in the next 5 minutes. I've been watching this situation very, very closely. It's basically like in that core's 80+ mile per hour winds. I cannot stress enough. The reason I keep saying this is because that part of Canada is, while that part of Canada is somewhat prepared for things like this, like they're not as prepared as the U.S. for strong hurricanes like this because it doesn't happen very often. But thank goodness, people of Nova Scotia, people of Newfoundland took this very, very seriously. Yeah, even as Hurricane Larry started weakening like a few days ago, still a very powerful hurricane. It's moving on shore right now. Yeah. We're just waiting on National Hurricane Center to confirm a landfall. Once again, this is an 80-mile-per-hour hurricane. Higher gusts are in the storm. After this is done in Newfoundland, it's expecting to become a post-tropical cyclone, dissipate over Greenland in the next 24 hours or so, hopefully. So anyway, if you have any questions in the chat, please feel free to ask them. I'm happy to answer any questions related to Hurricane Larry or any other weather events such as the 2 tropical waves that I mentioned a little while ago. Do I know what time the eye will be right above St. John's? I don't. The eye is not moving. The eye is not going to be over Saint. Is actually moving more west than Saint. Is moving over west of St. John's. The center of circulation is actually not going over St. John's. It's actually moving further west of that. So it's not going over St. John's at this point. Thank you for the question, though. Yeah, it's not making landfall just south of St. John's. The center of circulation is further west. It's it's in this area right here. St. John's is over here. It's not going to go over that unless it makes like this giant turn to the east, which isn't very plausible at this point. But thank you for the question. Really appreciate it.
And it basically turns things inside your mind real. Sometimes they're not even like literal things. Like the reason Theo and Crystal is because it's a representation of just how the eyes are. If you watch, the eyes are staring at Theo on there.
Alright, I'm going to check the official National Hurricane Center website real quickly, just to see if they have declared it a landfall or not. So I'll be right there. It doesn't appear they have yet, but well, like I said, if it hasn't made landfall yet, it will very, very soon. So, alright, good to know. Yeah. The center of circulation isn't going to be above St. John's. It's further west to it. So you're in St. John's where you're at the eastern edge of the core, which is northeastern edges, which is where generally the strongest winds are. For parts of the southern parts of the area right here south of you, they're in the back of the core. They're almost done. You're not. It's going to move very fast, but center circulation is not going to move over you. It's further to the west. Like I said, unless it makes this giant maneuver to the east, then it's not going to do that. But anyway, thank you for your question. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for more updates like this, and feel free to ask more questions if you have any.
Well, I'm already on track to be much better than last time. Yeah.
For those of you who are just tuning in and joining us, we are watching Hurricane Larry as it is making landfall over southeastern Newfoundland and Canada. This is the first hurricane to make landfall since Hurricane Igor in 2010. So it currently has sustained winds of 80 miles per hour according to the latest advisory, moving north-northeast at 47 miles per hour, so it's a very fast hurricane. Its center location is 46.8 degrees north, 54.9 degrees west. So it is a very fast hurricane. It is expected to become a post-tropical cyclone after it makes landfall and passes Newfoundland, and then dissipate in the next 24 hours. So we're just right now waiting on the National Hurricane Center to call landfall on this system.
Reflections. Reflections a fairly short chapter.
Just a quick update on Hurricane Larry. Parts of the core are starting to move offshore, north of off of St. John's. St. John's is in the eastern edge of the core. This area right here is in the back end of it. Is almost over. It is the worst part of the storm is almost over. Just hold out a little bit longer. The rest of you begin still hunker down, get into an interior room to prevent getting hurt from wind damage, from pieces of debris falling through windows and everything. So just hunker down. Your power is, if it hasn't gone out already, it probably will. So just prepare for that. Prepare for potentially your internet to go out. So yeah, that's the latest on Larry. It appears that the center of circulation may have made landfall, but yeah, we're calling this an unconfirmed landfall at this point. But it's not. We cannot confirm anything at this time. So when the NHC comes out and says that Larry's officially made landfall, that's when we'll say it. But but it is currently 11:48 Eastern Time, 10:48 Central Time. We'll be streaming for another 12 minutes on Hurricane Larry as this situation develops. But once again, if you're in that core, hunker down. Get in just hunker down. That's all you can do at this point. Do not go outside. Do not do anything. Hunker down. Get into an interior room. That's all you can do at this point. That's all I'm saying, because that's all you can do.
Oh, it was. I don't know what I called it. But it was basically.
So if you're just joining us on the stream, be sure to hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this and streams, as well as some update videos that.
Yeah, right. Kind of.
I'm gonna refresh this real quickly.
Yeah, the final time also the
Alright, St. John's is in the northeastern part of it. They're just in the beginning of it. It's still moving very quickly, so it's gonna be a fast moving. So basically, if you're in the southern part of this area right here in the hurricane warned area, you're almost out of it. You're not anywhere near the clear yet. You're just pretty close to getting on the back end of it. But once this whole core is done, it's done. It's once it moves offshore, you're still going to get tropical storm force winds for a few hours. But basically, because there's dry air on the south part of it, there's going to be no precipitation or anything like that. Maybe some cloud cover, but that's it. So I think Larry made landfall on Nova Scotia. No, not Nova Scotia, Newfoundland. Nova Scotia is over here. This is Newfoundland. Sorry, I get those two mixed up from time to time. But anyway, if that's the case, this is the first hurricane to make landfall since Hurricane Igor in 2010. It appears to have. So I can say that there's an apparent landfall at this point. If it hasn't made landfall yet, it will in the next just few minutes. But once it makes landfall and once it's done, once it's past this area of Newfoundland, it's just goes downhill from there. It becomes a post-tropical cyclone, dissipates in 24 hours. That's essentially what's going on right now. So for those of you who are just tuning in, it's just the southern part of Newfoundland. I keep messing them up. Ugh. But anyway, yeah, the southern part right here in the hurricane warned area of Newfoundland, you are almost out in the clear. It's not quite there, but it's getting pretty you're getting pretty close. You're not. Oh, I wouldn't say out of the clear, but I would say you're out of the worst part of it because there's still tropical storm force winds for another 100 miles after that. So, anyway, yeah. This hurricane came off of Africa as a tropical wave, quickly organized, rapidly intensified to a Cat 1 hurricane, became a major hurricane shortly thereafter, had a structure that was pretty impressive, but then 2 or 3 days ago, its structure just started showing signs of trouble, recovered, then the structure just collapsed. I mean, it just collapsed at that point. And its intensity just started dwindling as it couldn't reorganize. It kind of recovered, but it lost so much intensity after that. I am so happy that this did not become a Cat 4 hurricane. Otherwise, for those of you who are in Newfoundland and St. John's, you would have been dealing with a much larger, not a much larger, but a much stronger hurricane. I am so happy that didn't happen. It was because the NHC had it peaking at 140 miles per hour, which translates to probably a 100 mile per hour hurricane if it did end up, just running its course as NHC was first predicting. Bermuda would have been hit worse than it did. It got tropical storm force winds, and that's enough. That's enough to cause a little bit of damage, but I would take tropical storm force over hurricane force any day of the week. Unfortunately, that's not the case here in St. John's and Newfoundland, and it's unfortunate. I pray to God no one perishes in this storm. I pray to God, because it's a powerful hurricane. The first hurricane hit Canada since Igor in 2010. I pray to God everyone is okay. I pray to God everyone prepared. I pray to God everyone evacuated if they were told to. And I pray to God everyone makes it out okay. But anyway, yeah, southern part of I believe it pretty much has made landfall. I'm checking NHC right now to see if it did. I don't know.
There we go. Fine.
Yeah, no updates. So let's see. Yeah, this doesn't really help that much. So yeah, it looks like it made landfall. And if it didn't, it's about to. Good news is that southern part right here is on the back end of the core. That's the good news. You're almost out of the worst part of the hurricane. Also good news, the convection right here is just collapsing. And that's a good thing. It's been doing that for several hours. That's such a good thing at this point. Only gets better from here. And I hope everyone is okay. I hope everyone makes it out safe. I hope you, yeah. I'm so glad this did not become a Cat 4 like all the models were saying it would. I'm so happy that those two models that had it going up to Cat 5 were so outlandish. I'm so glad it didn't happen. I'm so glad it didn't become a Cat 4. Like, you guys would have, in Canada, would have gotten a much stronger hurricane, much more organized than this, probably. So you guys got, it's still bad what's happened, but you guys have a little bit of luck that it didn't get any stronger than this. I hope everyone is okay, it comes out of this okay. And I hope the rebuilding process I hope there's damage isn't too bad. I hope power isn't out for long. I hope everything goes okay. So anyway, I'm about to end the stream. It's about almost 11. It's pretty much 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. So we're gonna wrap it up right here. Thank you all for coming and watching my first ever stream covering Hurricane Larry. I hope to do more in the future. So please hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications for more updates. I'll see you at the next stream. To the people in Canada who watch this, I pray to God that you guys make it out okay, and I pray to God that you all just like the effects don't last long. I pray to God everyone makes it out okay. I already said that. I pray to God that there's not very much damage. So anyway, thank you for coming to the stream. Really appreciate it. And that'll be it. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications for more updates.